webinar. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. My name is 𝗃𝐞𝐜𝐿𝐼, chairperson for the Filipino Chamber of Commerce of Alberta. Today, we are really excited because the speakers that we have with us today are voices within our community. These are people who are building legacies within our own city and are expressing potential challenges that they are currently facing within this moment of time. And on the other hand, we also have speakers who are providing their knowledge and their skill set to help other business owners, specifically those who are watching this webinar, to prepare them for 2021. So if you guys don't know the Filipino Chamber of Commerce, our goal is to provide resources, tools, and skills to help local businesses. Our mission, in fact, is to serve open-minded, small to medium-sized businesses and also entrepreneurs to learn and expand by creating meaningful connections within the Filipino community. So what we really want our audience to take away from this webinar is the ability to first discover what resources are available as business owners, how all of us as business owners can collaborate and engage with each other, and lastly, how to prepare your mindset going into 2021. So that's the reason for this webinar today. A few housekeeping rules. We ask that if you are not speaking, to please have your microphone muted to respect the speaker presenting. We also ask that any questions that you may have to hold it until the end. We will have a specific segment for the webinar, which is going to be towards the end. We will announce when the floor is open. And lastly, I just want to say, take this time to really allow yourself to be open-minded, be present, and evaluate how you can implement the solutions that we present to you today and to apply them into your own business and your life. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to one of my good colleagues and friends, and he's also the Director of External Affairs, Brian Morales. He will be introducing our panel of business owners and our speakers. Thank you.
Thanks, Camille. I want to thank Camille so much for her work. She's been working really hard with the Chamber this year in an unprecedented time, and she's been working really hard as one of the youngest, if not the youngest, on our board. So thank you, Camille, for all the efforts that you do. I get the privilege to introduce some of you guys to the business speakers this afternoon. And what's interesting is that we really did take different industries from our city, and particularly ones that would be most affected from COVID. So without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to Mr. 𝗟𝗏𝗿𝗀. He's been working in an IT company as an entrepreneur since 2017, but brought new technology first in Alberta, second in Canada, here with a company called 𝗟𝗏𝗿𝗀 Solutions. Him and his partner are launching this with specializations in automotive applications. But I'll really let him explain his business to you guys that are watching us today. So Alvin, please, can you introduce your company to us, and then maybe explain some of the struggles you're dealing with in 2021?
Thank you very much, Brian. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the Filipino Chamber of Commerce for having us today. So my name is 𝗟𝗏𝗿𝗀. I actually do the business development for 𝗟𝗏𝗿𝗀 Solutions. Although I wear a lot of hats, I sometimes do the service part, I do the accounting. That's how small business works do. What we do is we actually do the disinfection, odor removal, and in the future, we're gonna do the pest control as well, mainly for vehicles, commercial spaces, and so as the residential spaces. So 𝗟𝗏𝗿𝗀 Solutions, we're gonna be launching this coming January, although we are actually started our marketing last month. we had a tremendous amount of inquiries since we actually launched this product. So we were actually, since like Brian mentioned, we're the first one to do this in Alberta. I mean, the technology, we actually use the ultra low volume fogging technology. We actually brought this all the way from South Asia, and it's really very, like, it's really effective, very good like efficacy in terms of disinfection, especially that we had the pandemic. So the concept would be we're actually try to disinfect vehicles and like in a short amount of time. So it's going to be the time saving. And the idea would be we're going to partner up with a lot of detailing shops, car washes, used car dealerships. So if it's like if you go to a car dealership and get your oil change, so this is going to be like the new normal for a lot of people, especially with the pandemic happen. So we're gonna provide that kind of service. So as for the commercial businesses, we can actually provide the equipments as well, so they can actually do it for their own businesses on their own spaces. So that's the business in a nutshell.
And thanks, Alvin. Do you want to mention maybe in a couple of minutes a couple of struggles that you're trying to overcome in 2021, just to get an idea? Because here's a new technology, nobody knows about it, but there are some benefits. Let's say if you partner with a garage or a shop or a cleaner, it's something that people are now thinking about, super relevant in the era of COVID-19. What are you thinking as a startup and a new technology? How what kind of mindset are you thinking moving into 2021? What kind of struggles do you think others in the same spot would have?
Sure. I'm gonna say there's gonna be a lot of challenges, but like first couple challenges that what we've encountered just lately or just recently is because of the restrictions that we have in our province right now. So the goal is to spread the word to a lot of people, like in our city or in the province. And since we have this restriction, I understand that it's not 1987 anymore. I spend a lot of my time meeting people, trying to showcase what we do, like our product, and it's just we cannot do that right now. So we were actually relying with the technology, with the digital marketing, which is really good that we have this technology right now. But like for business to business sales, it's always important that we always keep our personal relationship with our customer always to be in front of them. So this is one of the challenges that we encounter right away. You cannot just make a demonstration of your product like in person to person. It's just hard. So that's one biggest challenge that we encounter. And the other one I would say is that since the economy is slow right now, a lot of people is out of work, so like the budget is kind of tight right now. So there's very limited what would say like the target market is not as much like before the pre-pandemic, but we're hoping for an uptick, like since the vaccine is already available, or it's going to be available for a lot of us in the soon. So we're actually pretty positive for an improvement. So yeah.
Thank you, Melvin. Yeah, I think you made some great points, and it will be actually a great bridge to our next speaker. For someone who has these physical restrictions, we're going to move on to our next panelist
Thank you.
from an industry, from personal care services. And if you guys have questions for Alvin later on, write it down, because we're going to answer them at the end. We're going to open up the floor to hear from all of you. But I want to introduce you guys to 𝗟𝗲 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. She's the owner operator of 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Aesthetics, and that's been open since 2017. And just like Alvin said, with these physical restrictions, there's not much more hurt than a business like hers, which requires physical contact, barbers, nail salons, those kind of businesses. And so I want to introduce you guys to her. She's been running it. She said some interesting things at the beginning of the lockdown. And Julia, thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit more about your business here in Calgary?
So I have been in the beauty industry since about maybe 2011, and I started off doing nails, and then following now I'm doing eyelash extensions and permanent makeup. So for my business, I still continue to learn. I'm also training now, and I help people also with their self-esteem, like mental health, because when you're sitting with someone for a couple hours, you know, you make them feel good about themselves. That's mainly what I focus on, is making people feel good also on the inside, not just the outside. I do help with like outside as well, but I try to just focus on the inside too. Yeah.
And that's really interesting. We're talking about that concept as a chamber. I mean, we can always talk about the results and the numbers, but we sometimes forget the mental capacity or our ability to take on the emotional struggle of putting your investment, a lot of your time into something, and it's not moving and it's not changing. And I know we spoke earlier. Can you tell us more about, you know, the mental struggles that you went through at the beginning of the pandemic? Because I know you had a team with your company and you did have to let them go. Can you speak more to that subject?
Well, because we had to shut everything down, I had to close my studio, and then I had to let go of my team. So now everyone is working independently and working on their own. When they lifted our restrictions the first time, I just got my team to work independently, and I just continued to work on my own as well. So that was one of our struggles.
Yeah, and just like Alvin was mentioning earlier, the need to have like a business to business relationship, and then mining kind of this digital marketing, this digital age. Have you shifted your focus, because you can't, you know, necessarily accept business right now at all? So have you shifted your focus to marketing? Have you thought about what 2021 looks like?
I haven't really thought about 2021 yet. I'm kind of just hoping that things will get better, and if they do lift restrictions, I'll be busier. So I'm just hoping that things will be positive once they lift restrictions.
Yeah. I think it's unprecedented for all of us when you can't physically be in a space. Julia, thank you. I'm gonna call on our next business panelist who's struggling with the same issues in a business that does require physical visits to their store. I'm gonna invite to the floor Mr. 𝗟𝗏𝗿𝗀𝗃. He's the owner operator along with his partners of the 𝗟𝗏𝗿𝗃 Specialty Store and Services. And they launched at the beginning of the pandemic, an interesting time to launch, but in one of the most active streets in all of the city on 17th Avenue. Romel, welcome to the panel. Can you just introduce your company, your business to everybody here today?
All right. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for this opportunity to speak up what we have been through in the store. Actually, we are RN Pinoy Specialty Store and Services. Apparently, we are the newest Filipino store in Calgary, and it's a Filipino grocery stores that that carries Filipino products, Asian products, and basic commodities. And we also offering various services such as money remittances. We also accepting pre-orders online and doing deliveries as well. It's one of the things that keeps us alive and keep us going right now, because we do delivery for a free charge to the people around the area, especially to our community, Filipino community, and also picking up boxes such as Forex, UMAC, and currently we just signed up for with U-Haul. I know many of you guys know about the U-Haul services for moving, and it helps for Filipino in our community as well to do their moving stuff in the like from one place to another. So it's really connecting to Filipino community who really need our help, our service. So just recently we signed up with them, we tied up with them, and we are located in a downtown area 1235 17th Avenue Southwest. And it's very, we are here in the business hub area. As we all know that being in the downtown or having a business in downtown area, it's very challenging as well. And what, sorry, can I continue?
Yes, please.
Yeah, one of the many challenges that we are having right now is rentals. Um, Rentals in downtown are pretty expensive. Many of the business owners are struggling and suffering just to work their butts off in order to survive, to pay the rent. So that's why um, we are surviving actually, and it is what it is. We need to follow the protocols, the restrictions, and we can't do anything about it. Just to stay what we do and focus on what we're doing and do something in the end. And the other challenges that we are facing right now uh, uh, during this time of pandemic is as a new business owners, a new business, we are facing a high risk actually, and having a hard time applying for government's subsidy, such as rental subsidy, loans, business funding, and all that stuff. Because we are not eligible to apply or get approved for any programs that government is providing right now. It's kind of sad that we are not into that category because we are new. We started our store uh, last March, 2 weeks after the lockdown. So
Tough place.
it's kind of sad, but we still keep going. And also the other challenges is we have seen so many competitors around the area, especially in online, and who are the same thing, doing the same thing as we do, selling the same products through online. In fact, some of the the people who are doing online are not licensed actually, but they're doing the same thing as we do. So it's kind of hard for us to figure out what really the best we can do apart from having a physical store right now, because everyone can do online, can sell products online. So that's mainly one of the major challenge that we are facing right now as a retail store owners.
Mhm.
And that's why our store is affected because of that. And you know, less foot traffic, less traffic physically, because uh, um, many households only want to stay home and, you know,
Yeah.
prefer to go, like, to stay home rather than to go out with their families, loved ones, and to buy stuff in the store. Instead, they prefer to order online. So it's
So
another thing.
that's very interesting given the topics that we're talking about here. We had two other speakers who also talked about kind of this digital transformation. If you can't physically be there, and you actually, I had all the questions I had, you answered already, Romel. Thank you. And we for sure have questions for you, but I think a great person to talk on the subject, particularly on the subject of funding and government help and support and the benefits of a chamber, if we're aware of these certain topics like unlicensed sellers, like you're saying, that's very interesting. And we have someone to speak on the subject. Thank you, Romel. We'll come back at the end to have everyone talk together. But we have a specialist on the subject. She's on the board of directors as the CFO, and we've had the opportunity to get to know her very well. She's also been a force of leadership with this team. She's the managing partner for FV and Associates. She also owns along with her husband, the Chat Time Marda Loop location. They're opening a gym at an unprecedented time as well. They've owned several businesses, so they have a lot of wisdom and knowledge. And she's going to talk about some of the available resources that we have through the government of Alberta, and because I know herself has been looking at it for her business. So there's no one better to talk on the subject. Jane, thank you for coming on, and if we can share what you have for us this afternoon.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Jane Vedar. I'm one of the managing partners of FV and Associates. So just something about our business. Our main office is here in Calgary. We have a satellite office in Katy, Texas, and in Makati in the Philippines. We offer bookkeeping and tax services for small businesses, consultation services for special projects, personal tax services, and we also specialize in cross-border US-Canada tax services, which we cater with the expats that works here who are, US citizens here in Canada. So to start my presentation, I'm just gonna share my screen. Just give me one sec. So I know that Romel is asking about all the informations or resources about the grants and loans for small business owners, especially here in Alberta. So it's very timely that we're going to talk about the available resources that are you can avail for. So the first one would be the CRB, or the Canada Recovery Benefit. Just so you know that these slides, they're very detailed, so I'm just going to talk about them very briefly, and then I can send all the PDF file, like the PDF file, to you guys, so you can go through it and then see which resources would be applicable to your businesses. So the first one is the CRB, which is the Canada Recovery Benefit, which gives income support to employed and self-employed individuals who are directly affected by COVID-19 and are not entitled for employment insurance benefits. So if you are eligible for the CRB, you can receive $1,000 or $900 after tax withheld for a 2-week period. And you may apply for a total of 13 eligibility periods, or 26 weeks between September 27, 2020 till September 25, 2021. So on the next slide, it just shows who are eligible or who can apply for this benefit. And also on this slide or the PDF file, you will see all the links where you can find more information about the benefit. Also, you will find in here how much you can get, the periods that you can apply for, and all the periods that you can avail this benefit for. Also, you can find in here the options that you can apply for. Take, for example, using the MyZRA account by phone, or and things like that. And the next one is the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. So as a Canadian employer who has seen a drop in revenue due to COVID-19 pandemic, you may be eligible for a subsidy to cover part of your wages, retroactive to March 15. So this way, this subsidy will enable you to hire workers and can prevent further job losses and ease you back in normal operation. So on the next few slides, you can see who can apply, like all the like eligibility requirements for you to be able to avail this wage subsidy. Also, you will find in here the periods that you can apply for it, and which employees are eligible to for you guys to apply for the wage subsidy, and how to calculate the subsidy as well. Also, I've included the link where you can find the calculator for you to use that calculator to have the numbers and prepare all the information that you need when you're ready to apply. So for the CEWS, there's also 3 options for you to apply for this one, which is the My Business account, or you can even ask a business representative who is using a Represent the Client, where you can authorize your representatives either a level 2 or level 3 to be able to apply. Or you can also use the web forms application using your web access code. And then after this, it will show up like when you'll be able to receive the payment or the subsidy. And the next one is the Canada Emergency Rent Subsidy. So Canadian businesses, nonprofit organizations, or charities who have seen a drop in revenue due to COVID-19 pandemic may be eligible for a subsidy to cover part of the commercial rent or property expenses starting September 27, 2020 until June 2021. So this subsidy will provide payments directly to qualifying renters and property owners without requiring the participation of the landlords. So if you are eligible for the base subsidy, you may also be eligible for the lockdown support if your business location is significantly affected by a public health order for a week or more, so which is happening right now in Alberta. So in the next few slides, you can also see who can apply, the claim periods, like how many, like the first 2 claim periods is already out, so you can apply for the rent subsidy already. And what are the qualifying property expenses that you can claim for this subsidy. So, and then also included in this file is the full detail of how to calculate your subsidy. So it's very similar to the calculation for the wage subsidy. So it really depends on how much percentage reduction of your revenue was for the said periods. Okay, and then how you can apply, it's also using the My Business account, or the business representatives may also apply through the Represent the Client. And the next one is the CEBA, or the CEBA, or the Canada Emergency Business Account. So this 55 billion program provides interest-free loans of up to 60,000 to small businesses and nonprofits. So repaying the balance of the loan on or before December 31, 2022 will result in loan forgiveness of up to 33% or up to 20,000. So as of October 26, 2020, eligibility for CEBA expanded by removing the previous March 1, 2020 condition for having an active business operating or checking account. So with this removal, eligible businesses can now, after opening a business, apply for the primary account. So this is also showing you all the eligibility requirements, and then you can go through this as soon as I send over the PDF document file. It also includes in here the eligible non-deferrable expenses that you can use the loan for, and how you can apply, and things like that. So the last one is the Small and Medium Enterprise Relaunch Grant, which was announced by the Alberta government recently. So this grant offers financial assistance to Alberta businesses, cooperatives, and nonprofit organizations that were ordered to close or curtail operations and that experience a revenue reduction of at least 40%. So eligible organization can apply for 15% of their pre-COVID monthly revenue up to 5,000 in funding. Businesses, cooperatives, and nonprofits can use these funds as they see fit to full offset a portion of their relaunch costs and implement measures to minimize the risk of virus transmission. This program will expand to include businesses that have experienced revenue losses of at least 30% due to pandemic, lowering the threshold from the former requirement of 40% revenue loss. So there is a maximum 20,000 since the program launched. So this update was just last December 11. So for those business owners that were not did not qualify, you can probably qualify for this next payment. Yeah, so the application status is open now for the first time payment of 5,000 and will open soon for the second payment. So if you have any questions, just let me know at the end of the this webinar, And I think that's what I have right now.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much. I know it's a lot of acronyms, CEWS, CEBA, like there's a lot of, it feels like being in high school and answering these very complex questions. So it's such a great asset. And it's one of the benefits as a chamber that we can provide. If you guys have a business and have these type of questions, it feels like it's a trick question. We have someone who specialized not just in the experience and in the knowledge, but also from personal experience, because Jane does own a bubble tea restaurant. They're launching a gym, which can't have physical presence. And she also has a services business. So she'll understand a lot of what business owners are going through because she herself and her husband experienced this. Reach out to anybody on the chamber, and what we'll do is we'll try to have a resource outlet for anyone here that can translate a lot of these complex questions that even I myself have them. So Jane provided a lot of great insight on funding and the accounting side. I want to move on to a great asset that we have as one of the partners here with us here today. And one of the best marketing opportunities is the news. And we're very lucky to have the support of a gentleman that's been a big influence in the city and all across Alberta. Mr. Will Tigley is joining us here today, and he's the communications arm for the Filipino community for CBC Calgary. And he's been a great platform to, not just as his career, but in his heart, he has that passion. He wants to prop the Filipino community who might feel underrepresented or underserved. And so I'm very happy to have him here today. I'm going to ask him to talk more about his role and what, from his position at CBC, what he can do for business owners in the community. Thanks, Will, for joining us.
Thanks so much, Brian. I've just shared my screen, so hopefully everyone has a chance to kind of see that. Want to introduce myself because thank you, Brian, for that intro. I am Will Tigley. I am a communication specialist focused on internal communications and media relations, and I've spent the last decade in the corporate environment for communications, helping a large international organization with their internal and their media relations. Today, like Brian said, I do want to talk about the importance of what media plays within our community and for your business, but I also want to talk about the importance of communications for your business, particularly during this pandemic, because one avenue of communications available to the community really is through my work at the CBC. So as I go through this presentation, I definitely want you guys to feel free to ask questions at the end of the presentations, leave questions in the chat, or even reach out to me below. I included my contact information. So if you want to connect after this or have any questions for me, happy to connect and talk to you about what specific challenges you might be facing. Sorry, let me switch over here. Okay, perfect. So in my experience, I think communication plays an essential role in the community. Just looking at it, it provides a voice for the people, for the interests of that group of people. It ensures engagement among a community of like-minded individuals, and it develops understanding among people. So if you're a business and you're communicating properly, you can communicate what are your issues, what are your needs as an organization. All of this can be approached through a communications plan, and a communications plan is just as important as your business plan is to your business. It really should be integrated within your operations of how you're reaching out to your various stakeholders and keeping them up to date of what you need and what call to action you would like to have them take in order to support you or meet your goals. I've been active within the Filipino community for decades now, and for me, I'm a firm believer that proper communications within our community is what is going to get us to that next level. How are we going to do this? Well, one of the ways that I'm getting involved is I've had history with 𝗙𝗎𝗄𝗍 Calgary, one of the longest running Filipino newspapers here in Calgary. And based on that experience, I have been able to make a lot of really great connections, some of those connections being with some mainstream media. And so when CBC approached me with this particular opportunity, I thought it was quite interesting, because what CBC is trying to do is they're trying to become more prominent as a community on mainstream media like themselves, because they are Canada's national public broadcaster. And so really what they have is they have a commitment on reflecting contemporary Canadian culture. And they're doing this by building and providing content important to the communities where they operate. So obviously here in Calgary, they report on a lot of local news. However, they are aware that they may be underserving some communities like the Filipino community because they are the third largest ethnic cultural group in the city. And so with that in mind, is the content that they're producing representing this large group within the city? Arguably not. Maybe even with the South Asian and with the Chinese communities as well, they may not be serving them as fully as they can, but they're reaching out and they're trying to figure out how they can best do that because yes, they want to be relevant within their operations and they want to make sure that they are reflecting the city that they live in. And this commitment for engaging their community, their communities, I think is very admirable. And it's something that I really want to get behind. And I want to make sure that I'm helping open the doors for the CBC or any mainstream media to our community and make sure that our community has that access and that empowerment to talk to media to make sure that our voices are heard, our needs are met, and we're expressing ourselves in a way that showcases that we play an important role within our community. And this is why people should care. So what are they doing? There's this thing called a pop-up bureau. And for those of you who don't know, a pop-up bureau is basically a commitment of resources for a set amount of time. We've done this in a number of different communities, like the Indigenous. We've had a reporter go up to the Genesis Center up in the Northeast, pretty much set up shop, like a booth, and ask people in the Genesis Center to come to him and ask, like, what are the stories that are important to you? What are things that are happening within the community that we should be talking about and that we should be representing? The Filipino Pop-Up Bureau is very similar to this. So what they're trying to do is they're committing 3 seasoned reporters and producers to tell our stories important to the Filipino community between now, when we started in November, to March, and it could go potentially longer than that. And so you'll see on a few things of what we've done so far. We've done maybe a really 1 story a week on something that's happened within the Filipino community. And some are like hard-hitting news of like things that are starting within the community. And some are things that are just like, here's what the community means. Like, this is what paroles mean in the community. This is what religion means within our community, particularly within the holiday season, stuff like that. It's not an easy way to do this because what I would love to have is these reporters to get really directly involved with the community, come to some of our events, because as a culture, we are very passionate about gathering, but since the pandemic is on, we were not able to do that. And so how this is taking shape, it's all going to depend on what we can actually do within this pandemic situation. Now, I do want to stress here that this isn't a permanent role for me. I'm here helping them out part-time. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to set up this role to open the doors up to the community to a large media organization. So in the end, what I would really like to see is that our communities, your businesses, to be able to like go identify that there's a really important need, or a really important story within our community that any media should be covering. And this is how you know exactly how to go forward and tell that story or get someone to actually draw attention to that story that is important to us. So in the end, what does this matter? Like, why is this important? And I think we've been talking about it a lot in the last few years, particularly in 2020, when things have been really thrown into the spotlight, but representation matters. Right? We really want to start showcasing that we are an important part of this city and that we play an important role. And how can we best do that? Well, I want to normalize our voice. I want to make sure that CBC reflects our opinions and our perspectives within their programming. I am aware that the people that are working with me at the CBC may not be Filipino, but I'm trying to build a pipeline of Filipino leaders, influencers, people within our community who can best represent our community. Because what I've been finding right now is that, yeah, CBC is really interested in talking to us. They want to talk to us about what business impacts the pandemic is happening on our community in regards to frontline workers, maybe those who are working at Cargill. But the issue is we're not able to find anyone who's willing to talk. We're not finding anyone who feels empowered enough to talk or is very self-conscious about getting in front of a camera to express their views. And so I'm trying to build, identify these leaders that CBC can reach out to, or even just make sure that people are confident enough to know that this is how media works and this is how you can work with them in order to tell the story. Because in particularly when we talk about things like this, like how the pandemic is affecting our community, we're bringing to light issues that are facing us that the broader Calgary audiences don't know, right? They don't know that, like, yeah, if you live in the Northeast, this is what you're up against. It's not like what most of us around this call are. Like, you can actually stay at home. You can actually, like, you can avoid the pandemic by self-isolating, but some in our community don't have that luxury to. So what can we do to, like, make sure that people are sympathetic to that or understand, like, this is what we're up against and this is what we're trying to do to make sure that we remain safe and we're keeping others safe as well. And so, yeah, this is something that I think is really important for us as an organization. And I'm trying to make sure that I continue to build these steps and build these approaches that might be available to anyone within our community. So what are my next steps? There's a lot we're going to try to do in the next month. We're going to continue telling stories and cross-promote on the CBC platforms. A lot of the stuff that we're doing, if you Google CBC Calgary Filipino, you will come across a page that I am generating for the stories that we are building together. It will also have ways to access the CBC to talk to the right people or send in story ideas that I think could be reviewed and considered when they're doing their news stories on a daily basis. Like yourselves, thank you for having me on, because I do want to build these connections within the community. I'm one person in the community. I'm not trying to say that I represent the community, but I can help tell the story if I know that there are stories out there, if I know that there are people out there. And I want to know who the voices are within our community that can help us tell this story. And I want to build a pipeline of talent, because in the end, like, really what I want to do is I want I don't want a non-Filipino reporter talking about what we're doing. I want, like, a Filipino reporter to be able to, like, go in and say, like, here's a really important story within our community, and let me be the one to report on this, because I know the cultural sensitivities. I know how to approach these people, and the community is more likely to talk to me, and it'll resonate a little bit stronger than some outsider talking about our community and the issues that matter to us. What I do want to do is I do want to build a Filipino audience for the CBC Calgary. I don't know if anyone on this call listens or watches the CBC or reads the CBC on a regular basis. They are a major news outlet for our country and within our city. So hopefully this is something you guys are familiar with. But I do want Filipinos to know what the programming is on the CBC. Like, a lot of it is radio, a lot of it is web, and a lot of it may not be particularly TV all the time anymore, but they have a strong social presence, and this is how we can get our words across. Now, when I say that they have, like, this strong presence, I think what really comes out of this is that I want to show that the Filipino audience is a viable audience, right? So, like, if we tell a story about something important within our community, I want to make sure that the CBC knows that it's been important and we've shared it, right? We've got it to trend, we've got it to go viral, because, like, yeah, this is an amazing story. And I've seen that happen so far with some of the stories that I've put up. Again, if you Google that page, like the parole story that went up there, people, like, it took to heart. And I think it was just perfect timing with that Disney video that came out about paroles and people showcasing what the tradition and the heritage are of something that we do around Christmas. Whether you were born in the Philippines or if you were born here in Canada, you know what that is, and it holds a special place within your experience in your heart, that you feel pride when you see it. And I want to see that pride reflected within our community, so that they share everything that we put out there, and we show that, like, Filipinos are listening, Filipinos are reacting to these stories, and they appreciate these stories, so that the CBC knows that they need to invest in more of these stories, invest in reporters to go out there, invest in hiring diverse staff members and producers that will continue to tell our stories, because I alone can't just do this. But I do want to continue to, I do want to get this ball rolling and empowering the rest of our community to take a role almost similar to mine as a champion, as a voice of our community. So as we go into 2021, I am holding editorial board lunch hour meetings with the CBC Calgary, where the senior producers will meet maybe 5 to 8 members of the community and just talk to them just on a casual basis of, like, hey, how are you liking our stories? What stories should we be telling? What's important to you guys? And building those connections, so they know that we have a consul general. They know we have a Filipino Chamber of Commerce of Alberta, or they know that we have certain other media, like radio or TV within our community, that they can actually, like, access. So I'm trying to continue to build those relationships. And then we're going to try to explore some partnerships with the Filipino community events in 2021. One of the things that I've talked to them about, I think that is resonating, is, like, yeah, CBC is a really great sponsor within our community, but if they're trying to go through this goal, throwing money at an organization, which are really great, like an arts organization like Arts Commons or Theatre Calgary, while there's really great partnerships there, they're not really talking to the audiences that they want to reach out to. So what about talking to like Filipino events that are actually happening in their city where you can actually get direct access to the Filipinos within our community? Why aren't they looking at those? Just because they're not like really big mainstream events. If you're going to grow your audience, I think I would argue you probably have to look at some of those. And so I'm looking at partnerships within CBC that might be appeal to them, that they could get behind and support our community, but also penetrate our community to make sure that they're in there. Finally, I think the only thing that I'd like to talk about in regards to this is bringing it back to communications. I'll ask everyone on this call to kind of think about what's happening within your world. What's important to you? What are things your business needs to communicate out there that you could potentially use some help with, or that media attention would help you with? So think about that. Think about what messages you're trying to relay that can help your businesses, and that comes with a communication plan. But I think everyone within your business plans are talking about, like, what is your competitive advantage? What is it that you're doing that's different from other people? What is it that you're doing that makes an impact within the community? And so think about 3 things when you're thinking about a story that you might want to get onto any media, whether it be CBC or anyone else. Think about what is the overarching issue that we should be focusing on. Then think about, why does it matter to the Filipino community, or why does it matter to the overall Calgary community? And then think about, who is that person that can actually speak to this where others will care. So for an example, like Brian, one of my first interactions with him was he was starting Nimbly Market, and they were trying to figure out a way to get their story heard. And really what happened was they showed a really good overarching issue. It was like, yeah, there's some businesses that are struggling that can't get their products to market because there's a lockdown. And so how do they best do that? They need to make a transition to digital. And how are they doing that? Well, Nimbly Market is offering them a platform in order for them to be able to do that. Who can speak to this? Well, while it's great that the owners of the business can speak to it, you would love to hear from someone who's actually on the ground floor, that is actually maybe one of those struggling businesses, or a customer that can't actually get their traditional foods that they need. So they had no access to it until this opportunity arose. So that is how it impacts this community. This is how it impacts the person at the ground level, and that's how you can tell your story. We got to get down to like what's really important and what's actually appealing to everyone across the community to hear some really good news about this, or some really important things that happen. So think about that, because what I want to leave you with is, like, media isn't an ad service. They're not going to just cover you because you said that this is important or that you're struggling in a pandemic. Everyone is struggling in this pandemic. And so how do you stand out from everyone else and cut through all the other noise? And tell the stories that matter, and tell those stories that reflect within our community. So if you need any support on that, or if you need to find out how to best do that, I'm always open to have a chat. I can always kind of like shine some light on what I think might actually work. And then just give me an update of like what's going on, and I can actually like tell you whether or not that's newsworthy or not, that I can bring forward to the producers and reporters within this organization that I think could help tell our story as a community. So thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you so much, Will, for that. We have a huge resource here. I don't know how many of you here recognize what we have with Will. The largest Filipino community outside of the Philippines happens to be in the US. Second is Dubai, and third is Canada. And I would argue with COVID-19, a lot of people are moving out of Dubai. So I would argue Canada is now number 2. We don't know for sure, but I would argue that. And I don't know if you know, but Alberta is the 2nd largest population of Filipinos. We've surpassed Vancouver, and we're a huge community here. And there's a lot of things to unpack. So if you're a business owner, what does that mean? Do you stick inside the Filipino community? And I know I see Maria here. She doesn't look Filipino. I could be wrong, but she doesn't look Filipino. Maybe our network is outside of this Filipino community. And what resources do we have through Will here? What would it cost for you guys to market your business to radio, to social media, to newspaper? How much would that cost you? And we have an opportunity. Why should we help Will? These are the reasons why we should help Will. The way he's working with CBC is exactly what we want to do. And it breaks those little pop-ups that they're talking about. That just kind of breaks what he's doing is translating our culture to Canada. And as the FCCA, we want to lift up not just the Filipino community, but the Canadian community. And that means there's a whole demographic, a whole market that we're not reaching. And we have that opportunity with Will. So Will, thank you so much for all the resources that you provided for us today. And I want to quickly move on to our next speaker, and she's done so much. She's the vice chair of the Filipino Chamber of Commerce. She's been in sales and pharmaceuticals. She's been a cornerstone of the Philippine grocer community. She does so many things, but as an executive life and business coach, she's the founder of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and she's here to talk to us about something that we don't necessarily talk about. It might be difficult to discuss the mental anguish that we go through putting all of our time and money. When you start a business, it's completely different than working a job. So we have Joy here to talk on the subject. I'm really happy to hear from her. I personally learned so much from her wisdom, and it's my pleasure to introduce you guys to her today. She's going to talk to you guys about what that means as one of our premier coaches. Joy, please, thank you for coming on the call, and please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you so much, Brian. And you're very right. You know, mental health is really a topic that a lot of us kind of put on the side, but it actually affects us every single day. But before I go to that, thank you so much, Jane. Thank you for the resources, the information, the resources. Thank you, Will, for being our conduit to have a louder voice for our community. And thank you for our 3 business owners, Julia, Alvin, Romel. Thank you for your transparency, for opening up our eyes to what you're going through and opening up our ears to what you're going through right now. So going back to my topic today, it's really about how we will conquer this pandemic age. You know, we have heard a lot of news about COVID that, oh my gosh, sometimes we are so numb about it already. But because it's been 9 months, right? It's day in, day out, COVID, pandemic, and it's tiring. And for most of us, actually, we just go on day by day, live our day normally, and try to, you know, get through the day. Actually, a lot of people take this as an opportunity to sit back, relax, especially during the first few months of lockdowns, and you know. Being happy, just working at home, spending time with family, and some really welcome the opportunity because they don't have to go to work and face their annoying co-workers or colleagues at work every single day. But then there is a good chunk of us in the population that are suffering with declining mental health right now. And this is brought about by months and months of isolation of this pandemic. And we were not really prepared about this at all. Even early part of this year, we were not prepared about this. It's there. The story of the pandemic is there, but it's sort of like in the movies, right? And although now the vaccinations are coming in, and you know, hopefully this pandemic, this COVID-19, this virus will just disappear because obviously everything just passed. But the long-term effects of this pandemic will still linger for the years to come. And we still don't know what the repercussions are. And it will hit hard on us in our economy, especially on the small business owners. And the small business owners are always the last ones to complain when it comes to mental health. Because business owners, you know, we are resilient. We are always courageous. We are risk takers. We always have that facade that we can, you know, we can take on anything. But at the back of our minds, there's always that cry for help, that cry for support. How can I get through this? And like for me, when the lockdowns happened, the first lockdowns happened in March, I decided to close my business, my little convenience store, for a couple of months, just because at that time we don't know yet how this virus behaves, right? But all we know is that it spreads rapidly, it's killing people, and I don't want my business to be that source of an outbreak. I care so much for my staff, for my customers and for my health as well. And then at the same time, the company that I work for, which is 𝗟𝗲𝗿𝗴𝗡, announced that we have to work from home. So I really welcome that first few weeks of just staying at home. I spent a lot of time with my teenage daughter. I have started cooking a lot. I binge watch Netflix a lot. I have drank wine a lot. And the result is I gained weight a lot. And I guess a lot of us also experience that, right? But that go on for a while. And then honestly, after a while, after maybe a couple of weeks into the lockdown, I started worrying. I started worrying so bad about my business. There's no money coming in. And our landlord at the time was not applying for rental subsidy. And we have to pay full rent every single month. No revenue. So, I don't know if you've experienced this as a business owner, but I would wake up in the middle of the night sweating. My heart is pounding. Just because thinking, where would I get the next month's rent? How would I pay for it? And eventually I applied for CEBA, but then still that thinking that, oh, how long would this last? How will I sustain this 40,000 that the feds gave? And I decided to eventually open my business in May, but then since then we noticed declining revenue. And when Romel was sharing his challenges, it really tugged at my heart because it's so close to me. I am also a Filipino grocery store owner, and so I can really relate to how he feels right now. And if all these big giants are closing their doors, how much more us small business owners, how can we survive this? And so in this talk today, I will be offering you some tools that can help you develop that resilience, the strong mental toughness conquering this pandemic age. And these are the tools actually that I have started using just to take care of my own mental health. And these are some of these are the tools that also my clients in coaching are currently using, and they've really they have discovered profound changes in the way they respond to the situation right now. So at this point, I will share with you my slide. Okay, there you go. I'll have to go to the first slide, I guess. There. Okay, so the title, there it is, Conquering the Pandemic Age. We are conquerors. Always think that you are a winner. We will come out of this victorious. According to the Business Development Bank of Canada, in their latest survey that they released, I think just last month, they found out that 39% of business owners in their study experienced depression or reported feelings of depression at least once a week. But what is more staggering about their study is that the visible minority business owners, and that includes us Filipinos, 48%, almost half, experience feeling of depression or reported feelings of depression at least once a week. And the topmost concern that business owners have are how will they generate enough revenue to pay the bills and how they will have profit. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business Owners also did their own study, and it was released in October. And they found out that 43% of small business owners are working more hours just to keep afloat, just to keep their business open. And we have experiences. I have experienced this, but the thing too with this, with what is really surprising with the result of this study is that even though the business owners are putting in more hours, only 29% of them are actually making normal sales. So just imagine the toll that it gives to our mental health as business owners. the worry that we carry on each day, the stress of, maybe like Julia earlier, talking to your employees that, we don't have, I have to let you go. That takes a toll into our mental health, into our feelings, and eventually it creates these negative emotions in us. It affects our attitudes. It affects how we react to situations. It affects actually how we respond to our loved ones, to our relationships. It affects our whole being. So if there are three things that I want you to remember out of this talk that I'll give you today, are this: connect and collaborate. The second one is innovate. And the third is revamp. Revamp is actually an acronym that I will share with you later. It's an acronym of habits that are empowering, that you should start working on right now if you want to come out of this a winner or a victorious. So the first one, which is connect and collaborate. As business owners, we are always, this is what I found with business owners, especially with the Filipino community. We are always doing it by ourselves for a long time. This is now actually the time to remove all the barriers, to remove those walls that are dividing us and having us working in silos. As a business owner, you are human. This is the time that you have to connect with your loved ones, your families, your friends. And we've heard it over and over again, that connection helps us with our mental state. If we are suffering with a lot of concerns right now, talk to your best friend, talk to your spouse or your partner. Imagine yourself like a can. Now, I will not call you a garbage can, but a can full of these unnecessary thoughts that I call garbage. And then the moment you talk it out, you're actually emptying your can and throwing away the garbage. You will feel a lot lighter. And I guess a lot of us already experienced this before. We just have to connect. We just have to reach out. And it helps a lot with our mental health. This is also the best time to connect with our customers at a higher level. Imagine your customer coming into your business, or you are cold calling on a customer and the customer has a scowl on her face, or is, they're humans, they're having a bad day. This pandemic is also getting into them. And what do you do if you also welcome that customer with a scowling face? You gain nothing. But the moment you make the customer feel good, the little small words, small meaningful and sincerely given words like, how are you doing? How's the family doing right now? Oh, tell me more how you are coping with the situation. Things that are these words that are sincerely asked will mean a lot for that customer, because it gives them that feeling that they are valued. And I always say this to my clients: no matter how expensive your products are, your customers will come back to you, because it's not about the price, it's about how you make them feel. And then collaborate with different business owners in our community. As I said earlier, this is the time to just remove all the barriers. Let us unite. When we collaborate, we form a community. And when our community, when our Filipino customers or other customers outside our Filipino community see that we are united as business owners, they are more inclined to support us than support these big box businesses. So think about that. Think about ways that you can collaborate right now outside of just what you are normally doing. And, even John C. Maxwell agrees with me that for the person trying to do everything right now alone, the game is really over. It is over. And if you want to do something big, you must link up with others. The second one is to innovate. If there's one thing that this pandemic really forces us to do right now is to think outside the box. Innovation is making changes into what you are currently doing right now by bringing in new methods, new ideas, new products, or even new income streams. And we cannot just do the same thing year over year and expect that it will bring tremendous impact or results for us. We have to innovate. We have to welcome ideas. We have to welcome other income streams. And that's what I did during this pandemic. I lost a chunk of income from our store because we closed, but I also opened my coaching business. The time that I have, the free time that I have, I spend it learning to be a coach. I think I finished 3 certifications, and now I have a thriving coaching business. The time of having a one source of income is gone too. We always know that the average millionaire has 7 income streams. So if you have only one right now, I have bad news for you. You're still so far away from being a millionaire. So innovate. Innovation is anything but business as usual. And then the last thing that I want you to remember is REVAMP. REVAMP is simply an acronym for the 6 empowering habits, which are rest, enlighten, visualize, affirm, meditate, and pray. And you have to do this every single day. So remember, how many of you here are actually, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing that you do is you grab your phones, you scroll on social media, you look at the news or look at your emails, and then by the time that you already are, already on your feet, out of your bed, you're already angry. You're already, full of these negative thoughts. But because why? You started your day negatively. The moment that we wake up in the morning, the first hour is what the scientists call the theta phase. The theta phase is when our brain waves are so active that we are just absorbing all information and feelings that we entertain during that first hour. So the thing is, instead of entertaining our thoughts with all this negativity we see on social media, let's develop habits that will empower our minds instead. And so when you start your day empowered and having all these positive thoughts, it will dictate how you will respond to the different events that you will encounter during the day. Trust me, it will bring you a lot of productivity. I have observed it in my life. I have observed it in my clients. One of my clients right now who is working who is making their company, their company to shoot for a $1 million revenue in the next 2 years, swear on REVAMP. She loves it. She gains a lot of confidence, and she knows that they will hit their business goals in the next 2 years. So REVAMP starts with rest. It's not rest that you have to go to sleep again when you wake up. No, it's not that. Rest is simply rest yourself from all the external demands during the day that distracts you from your goal. So say, for example, as business owners, we're always the last one that we ourselves are always the last ones that we take care of. Find the time in a day, even just for 30 minutes, to rest from that, to rest from all the distractions, and give yourself the attention. Do something that you love. It may be as simple as drinking a milk tea from chat time, or maybe reading a book, your favorite book, or taking a walk, or watching your favorite show. Something that you really love without distraction. Maybe have a bath on the tub. It simply gives you that feeling that you love yourself. And by doing this, you will learn to really love yourself. And loving yourself is not selfish. When you love yourself, you have more love to give to others. Always remember that. The next one is enlighten. Enlighten your mind by reading at least 30 minutes each day of personal development books or listening to motivational speakers. Then this last 4, the VAMP, are the most important ones that you have to do during the first hour upon waking up. And I start from the very bottom. The first one, upon when you open your eyes, pray. Say a prayer, not a prayer of asking, but a prayer of gratitude. Because gratitude makes you happy. Gratitude makes you hopeful. Gratitude makes you joyful and feeling positive. So say a prayer of gratitude. Even just, thank you so much for this life you've given me, that I wake up without COVID. Even just simple things like that. But start with a prayer of gratitude. Then follow it up with a 10-minute meditation just to clear your mind of all the garbage, gives you clarity. Meditation actually opens up a space in your mind so that all the positive energy and positive thoughts will just come in. And then do your affirmations. Most of us, what we are right now are a result of the feedback we got from our environment, how we were raised, the negative comments we receive all throughout our lives. Affirmations actually will help you take away all those things that have been planted in your subconscious mind, all the negative things. Affirmations is your self-talk on how great you are, because you really are. You are really a great person. There are so much positive qualities in you that you just have to harness. And don't expect your spouse or your siblings or your friends to rally behind you and cheer you on. And Brian is the most wonderful person I know. Brian is positive. Brian is confident. Brian is strong. It's not that, because they will not do that. Your biggest cheerleader is you. Every morning, say something empowering to yourself, who you are, by realizing how great a contribution you can give to your community, to others, through the great qualities that you possess. And then visualize. Spend 10 minutes visualizing your ideal self. There are a lot of visualization tools, even in YouTube, that you can use. And so these are the habits that if you continue practicing, I would say 3 months, you will really see a lot of changes in the way you act and the way you respond and the way you handle relationships. And my clients, they see changes in them as early as 1 week. And my gift to you right now, but before I do that, so even the Bible will say, as you think, you will become. So we can only control ourselves, nothing else. Not the external factors. Always remember this. It starts with our mindset. And I am not Buddhist, but we can't deny that Buddha is really a wise man that roamed the earth thousands of years ago. He said that what you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you create. And as my Christmas gift to you, to all the participants here today, I will give you an access to my REVAMP tool. The REVAMP program is actually part of my package for my clients, and they pay a huge amount for this. But for you, this tool, I will give it to you for free. I will give you a free access to this. All you have to do is email me, joy@coachbyjoy.com, or send me a text at this number, 587-573-4209. No catch at all. I just want us to be strong. I just want us to conquer this pandemic age. And thank you so much for listening. But before I end, on behalf of FCCA, starting in the month of January, every Sunday, we will be offering a mastermind session called the Business Preparedness Mastermind Session. And this will help prepare you as a business owner to develop your business plan for 2021. If the restrictions are lifted, you will come out of this running. You are ready. It's not that I'll just wait for the restrictions to lift before I think about my business. No, this mastermind session you will get expert mentorship from all the business owners that are part of this session. So how the mastermind session works is that each of the participants, it will be just to be a small group, 6 maximum, will take turns to be a mentee and a mentor. So when you are a mentee on the hot seat, you will tell us about your challenge and what you want to accomplish, and then each mentor will have 2 minutes to share their feedback, to share their insights. And after that, after they have shared all that, one mentor will now become a mentee, and the mentee will now become a mentor, and so on. So imagine this, you're getting free advice from experts from different industries, from business owners. And they will give us, when you are in a mastermind session, you will get advices from different angles, not just from one siloed approach. So if you are interested, this is on a first come, first serve basis. You have to email us at info@filipinochamberalberta.ca. So thank you so much, and hope to see you in our mastermind session. And I hope you got something out of this talk and this webinar today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joy. We appreciate all the work that you do for us. And 100% I agree with you. One of the best, sometimes the people closest to us aren't our best cheerleaders. They mean well, but maybe they don't, they can be sincerely right, but they can also be sincerely wrong when they come to certain topics. And that's one of the things I love about being part of the Chamber of Commerce, because there's a certain understanding. We can lean on each other, and how much better if you have a dedicated coach like Joy. So please reach out to Joy. And we're going to start this mastermind session in 2021. We're going to talk more about it at the end. What we're going to do now is to open the floor for the Q&A for everybody here. And I'm going to read off some questions to start for everybody. Will had a great question. He says here, I heard about adapting and making a switch to digital to manage your business. What if you don't have the capital to make that switch? Is that the only way to survive? And so this question is for everybody here. If somebody wants to talk on that topic, especially the business owners here, and maybe Romel, I know you were talking about that as a local grocery store, and you were thinking about that digital switch. But anyone can talk on the topic. We're going to go conversational so that when people watch, they can get a lot of value from this conversation. Anybody can jump in. Or do you want to talk about it, Romel?
I'd like to speak, Brian.
Sure.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, everybody hears me?
Mark, yes. Yes, we do. We're going to put the spotlight on you there. Go
Oh,
ahead.
No need, no need. I'd like to address the question of Will, as well as I was listening to the sharing of Romel earlier. Mm-hmm. Perhaps I'd like to share 4 points. In any business, 4: speed, service, innovation, and cost. Speed, service, innovation, and cost. So for Romel, before I segue and directly answer Will's question there, in your case, may I suggest, Romel, unsolicited advice, maybe you need to go back to your business plan for 2021, considering speed, service, you need to innovate, and your cost, because rent is one of the biggest expense for any business, especially for you who is at the 17th Avenue location. I'd say you may have to go back to your business plan, because when I was listening to your sharing earlier, you come across as you may need to go back to your business plan for 2021. Otherwise, your rent is just gonna be haunting you. I mean, I'm just being honest. Joy here is in the same business as you are, and she had to do some shift. And perhaps in your case, you may need to shift because of that particular cost. And digital, I agree, would be one venue. In terms of cost, I may not have a specific X amount of dollars for you to switch on that. But at the end of the day, you may need to innovate big time. For that, you may, going back to what Will said earlier, what makes you different in the competition? And why did you choose 17th Avenue? Who's your market? Vacancy rate in the downtown area is way up. A lot of offices are vacant. So yeah, you may have to go back to your business plan for 2021 and ask those particular questions. And I'd like to indulge Will when he said, what's your competitive advantage? What makes you different from the rest? Because honestly, from me, any business, we have to be 2 steps ahead of the game. If you are not, then you're pretty much the same as the other in the competition. And sooner or later, somebody's just gonna be overtaking you, and that business would be 2 steps ahead of you. And you might end up out of the competition. So those are my unsolicited inputs for you, Romel, of what you shared earlier. That's it. I'm okay. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Mark. And just so everybody knows, if nobody knows Mark, he's the owner of 𝐾𝐜𝐿 Insurance and Financial Services. He's a financial advisor and has a lot of experience in the business field. I want to pass the message on relating to the subject of Joy about mental health. If anybody has any more questions, please ask it in the chat and we'll address it. But the question was way back when Julie had talked about her services. One of the most intimate relationships, at least I know with myself, is my barber. And it's a personal service, and you end up talking to them because you're sitting on the chair, and it's one of those things that you can't change. You can't virtually cut hair. You can't virtually do lashes or nails. So this question is addressed to Julia. When you have your clients, how do you address the mental health aspect? What process do you go through, and how do you help somebody along in that respect?
So just like what Joy said earlier, you build a connection with your clients. So you're spending time with them, you're building relationships and building that connection. And then that helps usually with like handling the mental health issues. When you talk to them and you build that connection, it helps with mental health.
And is it something you build over time, or is it something you ask how they are? And then even now, like, how do you check up on your customers even though you can't service through the service?
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting. Yeah, so I still, like, although I can't see them now, I always tell them they can reach out to me because during the first wave and I wasn't working, I didn't reach out to them, and that I was having mental health issues of my own because I was used to seeing them every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, and I wasn't seeing anybody for like 3 months. So I was having issues of my own. So now that I'm not seeing them, even if it's just like a minimum of 4 weeks, I'm telling them they can reach out to me anytime. Because I don't want to lose that connection with them. And I also don't want my mental health to deteriorate. I want to still like be positive and help people through this pandemic.
And that's a great question, kind of on the topic of Will, when he asked about, is there something else you can do beyond digital? And this is something free. Yes, it's digital, maybe you're texting or calling, but it's more of a relational attitude or a solution where you're maintaining that relationship despite restriction. And I think Camille has kind of a question related to that. Camille, do you want to ask?
Yeah. So my question is again to Julia, and probably to any personal service out there that's providing personal services. My question is, in the event that, or the slim chance that AHS might extend their restrictions, how do you think it will affect your business?
I am still trying to stay positive. Like, of course, it's going to affect me financially because I won't be seeing my clients. I won't be making money doing any services. But I'm just going to keep staying positive, and I will still like maintain a relationship by texting my clients, emailing them, seeing how they're doing.
Awesome, thank you for that.
That gives, I have a question then for Alvin, based on the discussion that we've had now. How do you go out and find these new customers? You're doing a lot of B2B or business to business or business to customer. I'm kind of curious, how do you go out and find new clients if you can't physically be there? Maybe this question can be translated to a grocery store or a restaurant. So I'm kind of curious how you've been expanding your business at this time.
Connection to Will's question about like switching to digital. Like what I did was there's actually a lot of free tools available right now for everyone, which is a Facebook and Instagram. It's totally available for free, and I think the only thing that you need to do is to invest time for yourself to learn. I know a lot of us is not like a techie, like really good with social media, but you just need to invest for yourself. There's like a lot of free stuff, like courses that you can learn that you don't need to spend money. So what I was doing before, or like for the past weeks, is just spending at least like 1 hour in social media. I was trying to follow as much people that I could follow. I went to Nancy's page, and I just follow everyone because we're in Calgary. And then like in a few days, I got a few calls from different businesses. Like, so it's just a free advertisement, you know, like you don't need to spend a lot of money, like, I mean, for advertisement. Then by the time you make profit from those, like the small ones that you get from the free ones, then that's the time you can maybe start spending for the paid ads. So this is where the time that I speak with Camille that we're actually planning to you know, do the sponsored ads. But right now, what we're doing is just trying to build our name on social media using the free accounts or with the Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, that's what I actually do.
Well, that's a magic nugget. So if anybody is taking notes, I love that. I'm probably going to do that tomorrow. Spend 1 hour, follow Mayor Nenshi, and follow their followers, and it was an instant customer relation there. And if you don't have funds, just like the question Will was asking, if you don't have funds, you might have time. 1 hour isn't much time if you're running a business. You're doing everything you can. I really like that, Alvin. Thank you so much for sharing that. We're gonna put that together. Do we have any more questions? Does anyone want to hop in before we close up this chat?
Brian, I'd add on to what Alvin just said, but like, yeah, follow big leaders like Nenshi to find potential leads. But if you have a certain goal, or if you have a certain target audience or market, try to find those influencers within those markets in order to like drive more business, because they'll have more specific interests rather than a shotgun approach of just anyone who's out there. Nenshi's a good idea because like everyone follows him and you can find people like that. But save yourself a little bit more time, be a little bit more strategic about how you approach it.
Yeah, I also wanted to add as well, the use of hashtags. You can really narrow it down even further. So say, for example, Julia's looking for lashes. She can look for YYC lashes. You'll find a ton of influencers, social media, you know, engagers on there. So using hashtags is really critical for social media. So yeah. That's what I wanted to add.
Yeah, and adding on that too, like when I was first starting my business, I followed other lash techs or anyone in the beauty industry. And I just followed all their followers and then liked all their photos. And then they ended up liking my photos and following me. And that's how I kind of built my social media platform. And that's how I get my clientele.
On that note, sorry guys, you can't see my face because I just finished making dinner. But on that note, when you do follow these followers, you have to make sure that you're genuine when you follow. So don't follow them and unfollow 7 days later. Create a conversation with them.
That's the voice of 𝗟𝗲𝗿, I'm guessing, right? That sounds like you.
Yeah, sorry, that was me. Yeah, 𝗟𝗲𝗿. Yeah, it's a conversation that influencers have in the industry when they're talking amongst one another. It's saying that somebody followed them and then 7 days later somebody unfollowed them. So then there's no authentic conversation. So when you want a business when a business wants to follow these influencers who can actually create a buzz and create a vision for them, or create an opportunity for them to be seen, don't follow them and expect anything. Create a conversation and create a relationship with these influencers, because they will always say that, hey, I went out to town these days or to a restaurant and I had this meal, it was fantastic. And a lot of the times they're not told to say those things. It's just literally what they want to tell their audience.
Thank you, 𝗟𝗲𝗿. Do we have any more input or questions? I'm gonna kind of wrap it up for all of us today. It's been a great session, some great advice. Any last words?
I think, Brian, this is potential for a future webinar talking about social media and how to grow accounts and even like marketing and growing your audience. So this is really good conversation, really good collaboration that we will consider to do.
A great way to close. I'm going to just mention one more thing before we wrap it up. And I want to thank all the speakers that joined us tonight, as well as our audience. We're going to have this up on Facebook Live if you're not already watching. So you can share this if you think it's great input for your community. If you want to, like Joy had said, if you surround yourself with like-minded people and want to find solutions together, this is exactly the place to do it. And we're going to provide more resources as we go into 2021. Before I hand it off to our chair, Camille, we're just gonna mention one more thing. This Tuesday, if you're available, we're hosting with businesses and artists across the region a fundraiser for the typhoon relief and recovery in the Philippines over the past couple of months. We might not have heard about it if you're not Filipino. The news has been mostly about COVID, but there have been 3 typhoons that went to the Philippines. So we've been putting this together with Canada nationwide, with business owners nationwide, as well as artists. It's on Tuesday, December 22nd, and we have the times there. We have a short link over here, and we have a couple of special guests. We're partnered with 𝗟𝗏𝗍𝗃 and 𝗟𝗏𝗍𝗃 Canada. So if you do donate $20 or more, the CRA will issue a tax receipt for your donation. And it's kind of a collaboration with all these businesses, including the Filipino Chamber of Commerce and the Philippine Business Society of Alberta. And we have a special guest. Some of you might know him, Mr. Jose Marie Chen. He has a special number, a unique song, and addressing the public. And recently, my shoulder's blocking, we actually have the Cabinet Secretary of the Philippines, Mr. Carlo Nograles. He's going to be participating. He has a song for us and addressing us with the public, but we have beautiful talent. If you're available that evening, check the times here, 6 p.m. in Calgary. Join us for that event. If you want to, as a business, offer some sort of service to auction off, to donate for the cause, we'll be there to handle that. And we'll be happy to support and send messages of hope to our kababayans in the Philippines. So without further ado, thank you for joining us. I want to thank you guys for being with us, as well as the audience. I'm going to hand it over to our chair, Ms. 𝗟𝗏𝗍𝗃. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brian. So I'm going to close off today as we conclude the webinar today. On behalf of the FCCA, we'd like to thank all of our speakers. So Alvin, Julia, Romel, Jane, Will, and Joy, thank you so much for presenting and providing your input, your knowledge, your expertise, and most importantly, your connections. You guys, we have so many opportunities to uplift our businesses, and we were presented that here today. But it's important to reach out. We had Jane talking about funding. We had Will, who talked about his role in the media, and we had Joy, who is here to help you on your journey through your business and your life. Reach out to them and reach out to others. There is a stigma in our culture, unfortunately, about asking for help. It may be considered nakakahiya, or shameful if you don't know what that means. But we really need to acknowledge that our weaknesses can be another strength. So reaching out is really important. In fact, the moment that I found the courage to ask for help in my own business, that's when I really saw my business grow from here to here. So when you don't ask, the answer will always be no, as the saying goes. So again, I want to express our appreciation to the speakers, the value that you bring, not only for the FCCA, but for also the businesses that are going to be watching this. It's priceless. So if you feel like this webinar was of value to you, if you want to be part of the community of business owners, of experts, whether you're looking for mentorship, resources, or a voice within the government, we can provide that to you as a Chamber of Commerce. Please reach out to any of us. So to me, Brian, Joy, Jane, if you're interested in being a part of the FCCA, we are here to help you and to connect you to the right solution. Again, we do plan to have future webinars. So we're going to have our mastermind for all of January. Reach out to us, email us at info@filipinochamber.ca, and we'll have events once it's safe to do so. It's a very challenging time for everyone, but we are able to get through this together as long as we support each other. If you guys want to know more about FCCA, visit our website, www.filipinochamberalberta.ca, or you can message, again, one of the directors. Thank you guys for joining today. Hopefully you have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and we will see you at our next event. Bye.
Merry Christmas.
See you next year.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Bye. See you.
Bye.